Welcome to another edition of Chicago Crossing Model Railroad Update. Today is July 30th, and this is the update for the month of July. Well, at long last, Chicago Crossing finally has all of its lighting infrastructure in place, which is awesome. So over the last month, I completely revised all of the wiring underneath the layout to facilitate the ability to light up every building. I added in additional and new streetlights as well, and started to work on individual buildings to get them lit up the way I want to. So lots to talk about. Let's jump right in. First off, what was it that I did to the underside of Chicago Crossing? Everything right now runs into a single toggle switch, and I used a toggle switch that normally can be used for like the cabin of a yacht. So it's got kind of a nice color to it. It's a little more chunky, not just one of those little tiny toggles. And that is powered by a 24-volt source into one of the Woodland Scenics expansion hubs. These are not transformers. They basically just take the power and route it to any number of light hubs or to other expansion hubs. From there, the light hubs all move out to small power buses that can power individual buildings, groups of lights, things like that. You can kind of see that typical arrangement down there. And on top of that, the light hub in Zone 1, or Zone 4, I should say, actually also powers all of the streetlights, and those use buses. Those don't use anything from Woodland Scenics. Basically, each one of those buses can power 12 streetlights. So that gives me the capacity to run like 48 of them if I wanted to, and really I don't. So together what all of that means is the lighting is far better organized and far more accessible to be able to have the two criteria that I want. One is operating everything from a single switch, and then the second is the capacity to quick release buildings so I can move them, work on them, photograph in that space, things like that. So there's two ways on the layout now that buildings can be removed. One way is just using these little plastic clips. Those are Woodland Scenics equipment. They're actually really nice because they're chunky enough where they're easy to operate. And that's something I need. Large hands, difficult to maneuver otherwise. The second is actually just running up one of the mini plugs that can be transferred to a power bus within the buildings. And the decision point between the two is really how many lights do I think I'm going to be operating in a building. So enough about the underside. What happened topside? Well, all sorts of great things. First off, part of what I wanted to do is to provide some variety in street lighting. Before, everything was just the same type of light no matter where it was. And that doesn't really lend itself well to, just kind of the different lighting needs of a distinctive building or something like that. So in this case, I used lighting from all different manufacturers. I took out all of the street lights with two exceptions just over by the oil refinery there that light up the loading rack. But otherwise, I bought and installed that kind of 3 LED lighting you see in the scrapyard, which provides a much better lighting system for a large outdoor operation like a scrapyard close to the office. For the office for the oil refinery, I used some of Atlas's newest, lighting kits. As you can see, it's kind of that modernist lighting. Provides a different feel, especially for a mid-century building. And then on the factory building off to the left, it's kind of the one that used to be that crane and shovel Walther's kit. There I installed some additional Atlas lighting that sits over the overhead door and over 2 of the entry doors. So every scene now has it, and every building has its own variation of lighting, and I think that's really a lot of fun. You want to vary lighting. You want it to look different based on what the needs are of that particular industry. If it's beautifully with those Woodland Scenics wooden pole lamps that are sitting over by where the grain elevators are and stuff like that. So as much as you can vary, honestly, I think things tend to look better. The other thing I did is I added in a lot more street lights. Some of those I had added in just kind of with some temporary wiring, as you saw 2 updates ago. Otherwise, I added more kind of in the Goose Island area. So you look down that street, it's well lit now. I have not yet lit the Finkel Steel building, mainly because I'm trying to work out exactly how to do that. And because out of that front door, I want people to see the lighting as if there was an electric arc furnace in operation. So that's a little more complex. I'll be, using some LEDs from Evan Designs in order to do that. But on top of that, added in some of these just plugged buildings that came from Woodland Scenics, which provide just some nice fill. Some of those will be modified over time to be more Chicago-esque, of course. And one of my favorites is the Evan Design beacon on top of the grain elevator. I had originally thought to maybe put that over on the water tower, but in looking at the install, I might actually end up damaging that water tower. So down the road, I may build a new water tower and put a beacon in there. But for the moment, I love the animation that you get just on the top of the grain elevator by having that blinking light. On the building off to the far right that I just recently finished, that will be a bakery. And so there I've got 2 small LEDs under the loading bay. So for each garage door or overhead door there for the loading bay, you can see those. I think that's a lovely little feature for that. On top of that, I put in a new Miller Engineering sign there, the animated Zenith sign. There actually is on the Chicago suburbs in the north. If you drive up 94, you can see, or used to be able to see, this big old Zenith sign. It doesn't quite look the same, but it's sort of another homage to what I grew up with. And then, of course, within the neighborhood up front, you can see a few different lighting options there as well. So, not all of the buildings are lit, but what you can see on the left, or on the rightmost, that's going to be a Payless Shoes. Middle building is not done yet. Building after that, I haven't figured out what the shop will be, but as you can see, only one person is home. And then that final building with the boarded up turret and second floor, that has a cool white LED in there, almost like it's industrial. That is actually going to be a currency exchange, and that'll get a custom LED sign down the road that I'm currently working on to be powered in from that bus. So taken together, it's been a really, really productive time, and this thing looks beautiful at night. So we'll finish out. I'll just show you some photography of the layout. One fun thing you can do if you have a good camera is do some really, really nice photography of the layout, kind of make it a work of art. So here are some images of what Chicago Crossing looks like at night. And until next time, enjoy.